Nothing quite describes the experience of Rank 1 Mythic Plus pushing quite like early mountain climbing expeditions. And this season, I'm going to once again be pushing to the peak of that mountain. Karakoram 2, or K2, is widely regarded as the most dangerous mountain on Earth. This behemoth sports some of the most dangerous climbing conditions imaginable. As a result, only 900 people have ever reached the summit, despite many thousands of attempts. Mythic Plus is far from the extremes of climbing K2, but the process shares a lot of similarities. To obtain the Rank 1 title, placing the player in the top 0.1%, players must slowly ascend by gradually pitching higher and higher camps. The further up you go, the thinner the air gets, the harsher the conditions, and the more punishing mistakes become. But the climb itself isn't the only obstacle. To date, less than 10 of the 900 successful K2 attempts have been completed solo. The challenge of ascending the M+ ladder is the same. Without others, you're almost doomed to fail. If you falter at a higher camp right before the summit, a companion is almost essential. I have experienced this myself. In the last 3 seasons of obtaining the Rank 1 Mythic Plus title, 2 of the 3 of these I needed that lifeline. Ascent is possible alone, but the risk of failure is exponentially higher. I don't climb mountains in real life. I'm not that cool. I just like doing really hard Mythic Plus dungeons. I'm Bog, and this is my journey to the Rank 1 Mythic Plus title, with the goal of taking as many people with me to the summit as possible.
Dungeons all day, can't tell what button comes next. Staring blankly at LFG, praying for a savior to descend. I'll grind till there's nothing left in the tank. Gotta keep going till I can't go more. One more wipe and we'll get this right. Couldn't make it through without my friends. Now it's time to give it back. We'll push and push till no one's left.
Chapter 1. Surveying. In the early days, mountaineers didn't have satellite maps or decades of detailed accounts to guide them up K2, so every expedition began the same way, surveying, mapping out the mountain, scoping routes, and working out the safest line up to the summit. And that's exactly what a new Mythic Plus season feels like. The climb begins on terrain that nobody has mapped yet, and surveying starts before the patch even goes live. But quickly, a crash course. A Mythic Plus season is 8 dungeons cleared by 5-player teams. A tank takes the hits and controls the pacing of the dungeon. The healer keeps everyone alive. And 3 DPS kill everything in the dungeon. Each run is modified by a keystone that scales the enemy health and damage. A +3 is harder than a +2. A +4 is harder than a +3, and so on. The higher you climb, the harsher the jump to the next level becomes. And to turn up the pressure as well, every dungeon has a timer. Can't beat this timer, GG, no points. The first choice for our long road ahead presents itself right now. Do I tank, heal, or DPS? You can juggle roles, but climbing high is almost always cleaner if you just commit to one. Each role demands its own sort of unique skill set. Tanks have to master routes and work out how much they can pull without dying. Healers need to manage incoming damage and plan their cooldown windows around it, and DPS optimize their own cooldowns to get the maximum output possible. Historically, I've been a DPS player. I even leveled and practiced a Warlock. It was quite fun and fairly strong, and staying DPS would make this process quite mechanically easy compared to the other roles that I could choose. But DPS comes with problems. It's the role that is the most vulnerable to tuning swings, one mid-season change, and all of a sudden your route up the mountain is not viable anymore. If my goal is rank 1 with as many people coming with me as possible, DPS is also not the best role to be helping others. On top of that, when I'm playing outside my usual group, DPS has the hardest time getting into other random groups. It's pretty crowded, lots of people play DPS. So, with this in mind, I made a decision. This season, we're going to climb as tank. Tanking gives me control over the pace of the dungeons, it's generally less volatile to tuning, and it's far, far easier to slot into groups when I'm playing alone. So, kind of sounds like an easy choice, right? Well, not quite. Tanking comes with one brutal downside: responsibility. Tank mistakes are much more punishing, and tank deaths are catastrophic. If a tank goes down, the party usually follows, and the dungeon is over. Oh, dude, nah, I'm fucking. That's it. I'm not playing anymore. In mountaineering terms, this is like the lead climber fixing the rope wrong. One mistake, and everyone behind them pays for it. So yeah, high responsibility, but high risk. And pushing to the top end is mentally taxing no matter what role you play. As a tank, I'll need to be pretty solid here, especially since I've struggled with tilt spirals in the past. Will I be able to steel myself this season? I guess only time will tell. So to begin surveying the summit ahead, we've got 6 distinct routes to consider, which represent each of the 6 tanks. Technically, we could level and gear all 6 and keep every path open, but that's sort of impractical. I actually have a job, despite what some people might think, and I do like to touch grass occasionally. More importantly, spreading myself across all 6 specs means that I really master none of them. So, we have to choose which tanks look like the best choices to survive the initial push. So first, Blood Death Knight. We can rule this out pretty quickly. Blood's main approach is just eating damage and healing it back, and historically at the highest levels, the dungeons start to hit so hard that the idea of taking all the damage and healing it back doesn't work because Blood Death Knights just get one shot. This season doesn't appear to be any different, so we can cross off Blood Death Knight. Next, Protection Warrior. It can survive, but right now it brings pretty low damage, and its key party buff, Battle Shout, mostly benefits physical comps. The problem is the lineup at the moment is looking very caster heavy, so this buff is losing a lot of its value. So not only does the warrior do less damage, but the whole group is doing less damage. On top of this, it doesn't really bring enough utility to justify the cost, so we're going to say warrior is out for now. That leaves us with 4 routes: Protection Paladin, Guardian Druid, Vengeance Demon Hunter, and Brewmaster Monk. To hedge our bets without diluting our focus too much, we're going to split these into 2 categories: backups and mains. To be clear, I will play all 4 in some capacity. The difference is where the true attention and time will go. So backup tanks first. Protection Paladin is the spec I know the best. It's pumping out damage at the moment, but recent changes to its armor stats have made it fairly shaky defensively at the top end. If tuning swings back in its favor in this area, it could easily return to the front of the pack, but for now, it's going to stay as a backup. Guardian Druid is also kind of absurd on PTR right now. It's doing huge damage, it's really durable, but it also makes it a fairly prime target for a nerf. With Resto Druid also looking like the top healer, double Druid comps can be pretty awkward because you start to then overlap party buffs and utility. For now, Bear Druid is backup number 2. These specs will get weekly reps for gear, but not much focus in terms of the actual push itself. So we're down to 2 main routes up the mountain: Vengeance Demon Hunter and Brewmaster Monk. VDH is insanely well-rounded. It is durable, it has got so much utility, and it has a party buff that also boosts the damage of more magic-heavy comps. It's not outrageously broken at the moment, but it is extremely strong. Brewmaster is also incredible. It doesn't bring the same amount of team-wide tools as VDH, but it hits very hard right now. It is extremely tanky and is almost brute forcing its value into the group. These 2 will be the focus of our early ascent, the specs we put the most time into. And so the pre-season surveying begins. Paladin, Monk, and Druid are already sorted. leveled, geared enough, and I've played all 3 to varying degrees in the past. Pre-expansion keys are basically dead at the moment, and I'm not exactly itching to grind dungeons that I've been running for the last year. After grabbing some quick catch-up gear from the pre-patch event, we're leaving these alone for the time being. Vengeance Demon Hunter got a little extra attention. I've never played this spec before, so I at least need to learn where the buttons are. That was definitely needed. Oh no. Oh no. That's not good. I'm coming back. In this +10 with my mate Jay, I was chasing mobs around like a headless chook. I wasn't pressing Spirit Bomb. I barely used my sigils on cooldown. My rotation just had massive gaps in it while my brain tried to remember where my keybinds even were. But in the end, the goal was achieved. My keybinds are in predictable spots. The basic rotation makes sense, and I can kind of see a path forward, even if right now it's just a casual stroll up to the base camp of the mountain. Lastly, dungeon learning. The true Sweat Lord move would be to go onto PTR and grind the dungeons in real time. This is smart, don't get me wrong, but I don't like doing it that way. I prefer the start of a season to be organic. Instead, I've spent an unhealthy amount of hours watching streams and footage of next season's dungeons. It's given me a very solid framework, and I've also distilled all of this knowledge into something useful. On the Boggs Adventures website, I have built color-coded dungeon cheat sheets for every dungeon, plus a tool that lets you select your class and see which utility you have for each mob and each boss. The second feature is still being finalized for some of the dungeons at the moment, but if you want to check out its current status, the link is in the description. It'll be fully polished with an overview video next week, just before the launch of Midnight. And so, Chapter 1, Surveying, is complete. The tanks are prepped, the groundwork is laid, and now we wait for Midnight Early Access. On launch day, I'm going to be doing a marathon stream, trying to stay awake and grind until I literally fall asleep on my keyboard. Not sure how far I'll make it, but a lot of white monsters should get me through. Big thanks to the Joy of Checks and Ghost Splinter for joining at the Keystone Legend tier, and to all my other channel members for supporting me. If you'd like to support too, hit the join button below, or check out the Buy Me a Coffee link at the bottom of my website. I'll see you all in Chapter 2, where we officially begin our push up the mountain. Thank you for watching, gamers. Take care.